Okay, so we're just going to take a few moments to go through how to submit the final and specifically how to generate what we call a PDF and make sure you have right dimensions and everything in your paper space. So in Schooloop, you'll notice going down to our Week 17 final project, you'll notice there are two assignments. One that's final project DWG. So DWG is our native CAD format. So that's where you'll submit your CAD file. And then following the steps that I'm going to show you right now, you're going to create a PDF. It's that file you'll submit for this PDF assignment. So what the PDF should look like is very similar to the example that is here in the final. So you're going to have a sheet of paper, and this sheet of paper is 11 by 17 inches. And then you'll have your first border line, which is 16 inches by 10 inches. So that's this outer box here. And then you'll have your what we call title block, which is this portion here. And you'll notice that this is rotated sideways. And that's pretty common in blueprints. That way when you roll them up, you can still read what they are. Just by looking there on the blueprint. So what I'm going to do is show you how to create this 11 by 17 paper size and how to set it up as a PDF. Okay, so here I just have a blank Archie template, but we're going to start with this. And then here's our normal paper space, which is 11 by 17. I'm going to keep that. I'm just going to create a new layout here by clicking on my plus sign at the bottom left hand of your screen here. And then just to be neat here, I'm going to rename this. I've just right-clicked on it. I went to rename, and we're going to call this 11 by 17, just so I can keep my layout straight. And if you want to really be organized, I'll rename this one next to here 8.5 by 11. So my 11 by 17 tab, we're now going to set our paper size to be 11 by 17. And we do that, the easiest way is to click on our A here for AutoCAD in the upper left-hand corner here. I'm just going to go to my print section and then page setup. I'll leave that open for a second so everyone can see where I navigated. So again, the AutoCAD button, upper left-hand corner, down to print, clicking on the little arrow here, and then page setup. And then here's our list of our different layouts. So here is the one that we just created, the 11 by 17. So that's the one that we want to modify. So I'm going to click on modify. And then for our printer, and this is kind of a slick feature that AutoCAD has, is we can actually create PDFs right from the software here by selecting a printer. So the printer name is DWG to PDF.pcl. So right here under the printer plotter section, the printer name is DWG to PDF. So what we're doing is we're not actually printing the file, we're just converting it. But AutoCAD has kind of a special customized printer software that instead of actually printing it physically is going to create a Adobe portable file or a PDF, portable document format, PDF. And then for our paper size down here, you'll notice we have a huge list of different paper sizes. And this is teeny, I gotta look here. So ANSI B, so ANSI B, and then it says 11 by 17 inches. Okay, and as long as your template was set up correctly to begin with, everything else should be unmodified.
Wait, which one? ANSI B?
B, yep. B is in beta, and it should say 11 by bleed. 17.
Bleed? Mine says bleed. B-L-E-E-D.
There's a few different options. There's expanded B, which is the same. It just has slightly different margins. But basically, any of these ones that say 11 by 17 is going to give us the result that we want. The expanded probably will work a little bit better.
ANSI.
But I'll try this
NG.
one. So just B, ANSIB, 11 by 17. And then our plot area should be set to layout, and our scale should be 1 inches equals 1 unit. So as long as you did your conversion we went from millimeters to create our key template, this should be correct here. And everything else should remain the same. So I'm going to click OK here. And if everything has gone well, then now you should have a larger space here. So you have our huge paper here. This is our kind of default viewport, which I'm going to delete at the moment. And then I'm going to start by making sure I'm in my border layer. So that's going to give us our nice thick border line. And I'm going to do a rectangle. And this rectangle is 16 inches by 10 inches. And then I'm just going to move this, kind of eyeball it, but I just want it to be somewhat nicely centered on my page. It's pretty good. I don't know if you can see that on the overhead projector, but that is my border. So again, you'll fill in, once you've got it all filled in and created your viewport, it should look extremely similar to this. So you want to make sure you've got all your dimensions right. You've thought of your own company name. You put Paro Valley High and all the other stuff. That you've put in the correct template scale here. So you've scaled your classroom to an architectural scale. So it should be inches to feet. I don't want to see some weird decimal point. And that's it. So now I'm just going to go ahead and test this. So I'm going to go to File and Print. And when I do so, I should still see this DWG to PDF. So that's going to create our PDF file. So when I go to print, it's not actually going to print. Instead, it's asking me where do I want to save my file. So I'm going to save this to my desktop so I can find it easily. I'm just showing you this to test. So when you're finally ready to output it, that's the steps that you'll do. And your end result should be a 11 by 17 sheet of paper. I don't see my border on there, but probably some other color issue. So any questions on how to set up your paper size for 11 by 17, how to get your template text on there, how to save this as a PDF, and how to submit? And just to make sure that you need to submit your final project twice, one as a PDF and once as a DWG. And before you submit, it'd be a good idea to just go through the assignment one last time and make sure that you have included everything correctly. So what you want to do is start by clicking on this rubric. So this is what I'm going to use to actually grade your assignment. So zooming in here a little bit. So the first is the survey. Have you surveyed the room? Do you have all your measurements displayed? Have you accurately measured both fixed objects? So fixed objects are things that can't be moved, like the doors, the clock. That's about it. Everything else is pretty movable. The light switches, thermostat, fire alarm, the circuit breaker box there. And then non-fixed objects, these are movable objects. These are the chairs, tables, computers. Those are all can be moved about the room. And then labeling, have you labeled everything so I can easily identify what's what? You just have some random rectangle that I'm going to have no idea what it is or not. So that's your survey. Then next is model space, which is how you've actually drawn it into CAD. So I'm looking to see, did you put everything in its proper proper layer. And I leave it to you to decide what those layers should be, but an example would be furniture might be a layer. That would include chairs or desks, or maybe you break that up. Chairs is a layer, desks is a layer. That's totally fine. But I want to see things broken up logically. And then detail, have you accurately put in the footprints of each object. So I don't need to see the letters on the keys. I don't even need to see the keys on the keyboard. But have you accurately put what we call footprint of the keyboard? So is the width and height, you give an accurate rectangle that represents how much space on the desk that keyboard takes up. And then efficiency, are things just sort of laid out correctly and logically? Are things dimensioned? Now you don't have to dimension every object, but I want to see dimensions for at least one of each object, meaning that you don't have to put dimensions on all 20 tables or however many there are. I just want to see the dimensions on one table so I know that all the tables are, I can assume all the tables are the same dimension. But you need to have at least one dimension. So you need to have one computer dimensioned, one keyboard dimensioned, one chair dimensioned, but you don't need to dimension all of those things. And then just professionalism, meaning is I'm just looking for neat and clean. So are your dimensions laid on top of each other to where they can't be read? Are your multi-leaders nicely lined up? Or are they kind of just sort of randomly scattered throughout? So I just want to have everything be nice, neat, and clean, and well organized. Yeah.
Were those squares on the floor, can you move them around? Or?
Where the network wires are?
Yeah.
No, those can't be moved. Not without a jackhammer. So then the next thing is Paperspace, which is that PDF that we're talking about. So have you created it? Do you have all your template objects correct? So what I'm looking at is, where did it go here? There we go. So I'm talking about all of this text here. Do you have this laid out correctly? Is it neat and clean, accurately spaced? Do you have your classroom nicely in the center of the room? Is it zoomed to the right scale? Have you noted your right scale? So basically, outputting, have you produced it in a way that would be acceptable to a client? And you got your viewport in place, template dimension, that's about it. And then the last category, the fourth category, which is the only thing that's really subjective, which is how much creativity do I feel that you've actually put into it? Is the classroom identical to how it is now? Or did you actually put some thought into a better way of laying out the classroom? A better way might be to have the students face the whiteboard that way, so we don't have rows that are so far away. Students are closer to the instructor. And I'm looking for efficiency. So can people, do you have everyone packed in really tight? Or if somebody needs to go to the bathroom, can they get up and easily walk to the bathroom or get a tissue or something without having to climb over other students or tables? And the last category is view the projector. So this class, there's a lot of follow along, like right now. So what I want is for everybody to be able to easily see their screen and the instructor screen, so they can very easily follow along. What I don't like about this classroom is students that are in the way back of the row, especially since CAD is so intricate. The buttons are so small, commands are so small, they can't read anything from the back of the class. So it would be nice to have everybody closer. So those are the categories that I'm looking for there. And then you want to make sure that you have everything that is required listed, and those lists are here. So you want to go around the room, and if you see anything that's not on the list, be sure to add it, but bare minimum, if you see any of these objects in the room, make sure that you have them on your map. So we don't have a ton of stuff in this room, but where's the printer? Is it in a logical location? Do you have the projector? Do you have the screen? We don't use the TV, but it's nice to have. So is that
Yes, so that could be like a HD TV?
Sure. cabinet, all that kind of stuff. You don't need to put, the posters. I don't need the lights. I don't need the sprinklers or the vents. But pretty much everything else we need to know. And things like light switches, thermostats, fire alarm, that's all important to have because we want to make sure we don't, we can't have a cabinet in front of the fire alarm, things like that. So you want to make sure that that's in your design so that way as you go to move furniture around, you know not to put stuff there. Question? Okay.